Welcome to Girl Talk with Amy, Anna, and Lisa.
Come on, girls. Yeah, you know it's our world. So tell me, where the girls at? Come on, girls.
Like many girlfriends, we get together, share what's going on with friends, family, life in general, good, bad. We're always here to support each other. When we visit each other, we spend time doing our girl talk in the comfort zone. The comfort zone is a place where we can be very vulnerable with each other, no judgments. We want to make sure we're uplifting and helping each other when we're down. However, when we're having great success, we're definitely supportive and we're cheering each other on. We are here to support all of you. We realized one day that we had to share this message with others. What we talk about in the comfort zone is something that can empower women all over the world. And we wanted to bring you into our world where we meet once a week. We hope that you enjoy our show. Please like, subscribe, and share with others. We'd love to hear back from you. Welcome to the show. Thinking about transitioning back because
who's transitioning back?
many children are about to go back to school.
Oh,
Parents, people,
not
etc.,
mine.
are going to need, they're having to transition back. They're having to transition back into their old life after we decided that there was a new norm.
Right.
And what are your takeaways? What are you going to change? What are you going to miss? How are you going to embrace the new changes?
I read something popped up on my phone a little while ago that the governor is putting away 10% of the vaccine for teachers so that they could go back to school.
That's right.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
the elementary through junior high school age children are impacted first.
Mm-hmm.
The high schoolers are still not completely slated to go back. Now, remember, we're talking public school system only. We're not talking private school, because there are many private schools that are back in session. There are some private schools where only part of the students are back in session. The private schools, depending on whether or not they have their waivers in place, they have a completely different system set up. So we're definitely talking about public school. Personally, my child is still at home because she's a high schooler. However, I was at the orthodontist and heard a mom talking about, oh my gosh, how exciting, my kid's going back to school. And then she said, and oh my gosh, here comes all the scheduling again. How is that going to impact a family? We've had about a year where the whole family dynamic has changed.
Mm-hmm.
Staying home, having dinner has actually occurred.
Mm-hmm.
Family time on weekends has actually occurred. Walks, et cetera, bike rides, hikes, family time has all happened. This is the first bit of transitioning back to the lifestyle that we had. So my thought is, I wonder how this is going to affect so many families. I can imagine that personally, I've enjoyed sometimes on the weekend. I've enjoyed the new schedule on the weekend, and we are doing things a little bit differently. And I have a high school child. How's that impacting the younger ones? So this is quite interesting. I will be very interested to see how this plays out, because I think that our society, of course, we knew that our society would be impacted by this. There is going to be dramatic reform in the family dynamic.
Yes. I can't speak for elementary and middle school because I too have a high schooler and a college student. But I have gotten some feedback from some of my clients, and they were given a choice if they wanted to have their children return or not, actually, at this point. everything is going to be done hybrid, in a hybrid way,
Right.
where A through L will go in the morning and M through Z will go in the afternoon. So it's still going to be different. And then you have the option of if you want to send your child back or not, at least according to these people that I've spoke to that are parents of elementary or middle school. So there are teachers who were also given the option of returning back to the classroom with the students or choosing to do it online, continue to do it online. So for those students who the parents have decided that it's probably best to keep them home and continue their school online, those teachers will be assigned to those students. And then the teachers who have opted to be in the classroom with their students will be in the classroom with their students for those students who are going back to school traditionally.
It sounds to me that there, with this new norm, like we had an evolution. We went from a normal, and then we were all shifted to change the way of life. And that was one evolution. Now we're being asked to step out of that evolution and grow again. So now we're asking them to shift in the middle of the school year. And I think that is what's going to be, they might have some repercussions because the children have adjusted to a certain way right now. And now you're in the middle of the school year, and now you're going to be asked, depending on what mom and dad decide for you, is how you're going to go and learn. Now they're going to be shifted again. They've already had this rapport, build a relationship, built a comfort zone with this teacher. Now they're shifting them all over again. So I'm not sure that's probably the best way right now. I'm thinking the hybrid. I mean, but who am I to make that decision?
Well, so here's the thought. I agree with everything you're saying. And I'm thinking, okay, we're more than halfway through the school year because we're already turning that corner, depending on what schedule your child is on, right? My child definitely felt the hiccups in the beginning of the year. Really didn't adjust all that well. However, just received her report card for the mid-trimester. And I have to say, this was one of her best report cards ever because she did adapt. We asked her to shift, and she did. And she's built rapport with some of her classmates, not many, just a few, very, very few, because the social interaction we know is completely gone by the wayside. She's definitely strengthened some bonds with a few girls, and they work together all day, every day. And when I say all day, every day, I mean, they're putting in 7 days of school because they're helping each other with their studies, helping each other because they don't have access to their teachers. Now, in a hybrid situation, because I was offered the same situation, now the teachers that are in class that will be on campus may not be the same teacher that they just had for the first 2/3 of the school year. So now you're asking them to not only shift back into showing up and waking up early and getting dressed and brushing your teeth in a timely fashion, right? And getting on the road. Now you've asked them to, by the way, same subject, finish out the year with a whole new teacher, whole new teaching style.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and by the way, next year you have to be ready for your junior year. This is quite amazing. I got to believe that there will be parents that love it because they'll be able to work in peace for a few hours. This will be very, very interesting to see how our society is impacted.
That's another thing that one of the parents brought up when we were discussing this whole situation with the kids going back to school is getting them out of bed on time, getting them dressed, teeth brushed, because according to him and my kid too, is she basically, her alarm goes off and she rolls over out of bed to her desk, which is in her room next to her bed and on the computer. So
if
It's
you
going
look,
to be quite a transition for those
yes,
kids that do that, that are the
Mhm.
harder to get up, you know?
if you look at some of the Zoom calls for
Mhm.
some of it, and again, I'm talking from the high school angle. I believe that there is some of this happening with the younger kids. But if you look at some of the Zoom calls, first thing in the morning, there's kids wrapped up in blankets still.
Yes.
My daughter has one of those Snuggies, you know, as seen on TV, the Snuggies.
Yes.
She goes to school in her Snuggie from her bed to her desk. And I think, oh my goodness, thank God she has her hood on, because I don't know if she's even combed her hair.
Yeah, exactly.
And she's going to hear this.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah.
I don't have the kids, but I have my nephew that goes to school that is in this, and he's in elementary. And I know for a fact that his teacher is not ready to go back to school in person. She's an elderly person, older than us. And, she had a transition period of getting used to technology, and now she's embracing it and she's not ready to go back. And so now with my nephew, this is going to be a whole disruption of the scheduling, because my sister drives my nephew to my mom's house and there's a desk set up for him.
Mhm.
He's dressed up from the top up, party in the bottom, that type of thing. But now it's going to be like getting up, taking my nephew to school, finding someone to pick him up, or are they still going to have the after school program for him?
Right.
All of that is
wow.
going to affect them. And then drive to my mom's and drop off my niece so that she has a place to be. Right now they drop both of them off, but that's all going to change.
And what about hot lunch programs?
Yeah. How is that going to work? Do those students that go in the morning, are they able to stay and get their lunch? And then the students coming in the afternoon, do they get their lunch before they have to start school? Or maybe they'll just continue to have the pickup,
Well, we
where they
know,
pick it up and they go home, or who
okay,
knows?
so with the pickup, we know that there have been different safety measures implemented for that.
Mm-hmm.
So now you have a child that is now in school, now wants to go pick up his lunch or her lunch, right? I don't know about you, but I remember it was a mad dash to the lunchroom with a whole lot of cooties flying around in that lunchroom.
Right.
Everybody's grabbing their lunch. And of course, you're poking your finger in somebody else's lunch. Well, that's a health and safety concern now. And what's seating going to be like in the cafeteria? And absolutely, Anna, what happens after school when your parents can't pick you up until 5 o'clock?
Mm-hmm.
How's that?
And if you're dividing the day into two different shifts, a morning group and an afternoon group, who is going to be responsible of taking that child to, because we all are going back to some kind of normal, or the old version.
Right.
Who's going to pick up that child in the middle of the day, or who's dropping off that child in the middle of the day?
Yeah. Oh my.
Yeah.
These are all the questions that I hope the school districts are paying attention to, because now you've got the parent who actually gets to go back to work, who's driving 30 miles one way. It's not feasible to take lunch break to run to grab my child at lunchtime. And I'm fortunate I don't have this situation, but think about it. Grab your child at lunchtime, run them home, and then turn around and run back to the office. How's that going to work? So now that after school program is necessary.
Mm-hmm.
And what kind of safety measures are implemented there? And is
Right.
there a cost to that program? Well, if I just started a brand new job because the old job was eliminated during COVID, how does that impact me? This is going to be very odd for a while, I got to believe. And this is happening very, very soon.
Yeah, which is, I think it's the beginning of March, right? So my thoughts are, you're sending them back in the beginning of March, and then they'll be there a few weeks, and then they have spring break, and then they'll go back. and they'll be there for a month and a half or so, and then it's summertime. Why not get it together, figure all this out, give the parents the opportunity to figure all this out, and start it fresh in the fall? Those are my thoughts.
Or summer school. But get them to the end of the school year like this. I mean, you've gone this far.
Right.
What is our
Yes.
last day of school? I don't even know what our last day of school is anymore.
Well, it ranges. It really ranges from each school district. Some people are out in May. Some people are out in June. Some people start in
Right.
September. It just really depends. I happen to agree with Lisa. I think that they need to take the time to do the due diligence and do the studying of how it's going to impact, because it's not just getting the students back to school. I get it. They need the they need to socialize. They need to be around people. But we need to make sure we take precautions, that because the child could go to school, and what if there is a child that's not vaccinated and catches it? Then what?
And the children won't be vaccinated, right? The children will be.
Right.
It's going to be very, very interesting, because that was another thing. What's the age? You don't get vaccinated till 16, 17. I don't know what's the age.
I don't remember.
No.
Whenever they tell us when we go for a physical every year,
So now
that's what they give us.
if they're letting the elementary through junior high go back, none of those children are going to be vaccinated, right?
Right.
Possibly. I mean, they might make it that it's what do you call it? Mandatory
Sorry.
for them to return back to school only if they've been immunized, or that waiver that I talked about at another show,
We
where you don't have to have your child vaccinated, but you're signing a waiver stating it's against your beliefs, religion, whatever the case may be. The other thought too is returning these kids back to school with or without vaccinations, and there's a breakout. Then what? Does the whole school shut down? Does only the classroom shut down? You know, it's kind of like reminds me of the whole thing with the lice situation when someone comes to school with lice. You know, and they send a notice out, you know, that someone has come to school with lice and to check your child or whatever the case may be. But then what? You know, what happens when there's someone who gets COVID in your child's classroom? That's like
And
a
now-
whole nother can of rooms,
And
right?
now that child has come home and brought COVID home to the
Home. Exactly.
And so now all of a sudden,
COVID is not going away.
this is the
COVID-
family.
I mean, there's more strains of COVID.
So are we moving to a more Sue happy society? Because you just sent your kid, you knew your child was sick and you sent your child to school, and your child got my kid sick, and now my kid got our whole family sick, and now I missed work, and now you're going to pay for all the time off.
Yes. And Anna, you said it's your
nephew.
grandmother. So who takes care of them?
It's
Your
my
niece and
mom
nephew?
and my mom and my niece.
Mom.
My mom and my niece. My mom is she's elderly. My niece is there because she's a college student and lives with my mom, and she's in her early 20s. So between both, they help each other out. But my mom, but that's only when Giuliano is not going to school, when he's being taught from home.
Right.
So what happens if your mom has to pick up your niece or nephew from school and take her back to her house, or whatever the situation might be, but there's been a COVID outbreak in your niece or nephew's classroom.
Right.
Now, possibly your niece or nephew is going to come down with the virus and maybe possibly pass it on to your mom. I mean, where does that situation go? I mean, gosh, we could just end up right back where we are now, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So have either of you gotten your first vaccination yet?
No,
No.
Okay.
I don't
So
think we're eligible yet. Based on, I'm not sure.
I've had both. And I presumed I was not going to get it until closer to May or June, just because of my age and my eligibility. I was fortunate enough to get it. And I say fortunate because at first I really wasn't excited about, I wasn't going to be first in line by any means. And then quickly realized after watching some family members and some friends, realized if the opportunity presented, I was going to go ahead and accept, which I did. The vaccination was nothing like the horror stories I heard. The first one was, I had no side effects. You know, had a little bit of soreness in the arm, not even 24 hours, which you get a shot, you're going to have a little bit of soreness.
Right.
The second one I had the chills in the middle of the night, and I woke up not feeling all that well, just not my usual self, almost feeling like I was going to get sick, like come down with a cold. But then I was fine. By 2:00 the next afternoon, I was fine. So no more than about a 12-hour stint. And I keep looking for the third eye. Haven't grown a third eye yet, and still don't feel any microchip underneath my skin. So, you know, I mean, all of the people that, you know, the conspiracy theory.
Right.
And I took a photo while they were giving me the injection, and I watched when she pulled the needle out. I didn't see that she sucked any blood, so they don't have my DNA. I mean, the stories that I was told before I walked in the door, right? I'm one of the fortunate ones because I have it. My husband, who actually has an underlying condition, doesn't. And then we have a high schooler. My college student isn't even in this state. He's under a completely different set of rules. So now what happens? How do I treat him? Because he's in a completely different state that's not following the same protocols as our state. Now what happens? We could go on and on and on. And I will encourage individuals who have told me over and over again, how can you get that vaccination? You don't even know what kind of study they've done. First and foremost, I don't always agree with the way the FDA rolls out new medicines and new vaccinations for any program. However, they have years and years and years of studies. And we, as Americans, really get angry about that because other countries get medical care and actually get cures for things that we don't have much sooner
for free.
But they get it much sooner than we do. And we get angry because we won't roll it out so fast. So now we actually said, we're green lighting you to do everything you possibly can to run your tests and get this out on the front lines faster than normal. And now we're going to criticize them for doing exactly what we wanted them to do with all the other stuff. Right? I mean, isn't that a little hypocritical?
Criticizing anyone for getting it. In my own personal opinion, I mean, my daughter has gotten it. She works in the medical field and she got both of her shots. I mean, it wasn't turned into an alien or anything like that. And she had kind of like the same side effects that you did, Amy. And I have clients that have gotten it. I have friends who have gotten it that are doctors or work in the medical field. And nothing out of the ordinary than what you're describing. I think just for me, it's just a personal preference to not get it right now because I feel that there have not been enough people tested, or we have not been able to see the long side effects or underlying effects that it could have in 5 years from now.
Now you're asking me to vaccinate a child? We don't know the long-term side effects. I'm sorry. Right. We know autism has been linked to a vaccination. What happens to fertility? Now, all of a sudden,
exactly.
we've given a child. So where do we draw the line? Where does that morality versus ethics come in.
Yeah,
You know,
that's tough.
it's a tough spot for us. And I do agree with you, you know, it is personal preference. We need to look around. However, that doesn't change the fact that we need to be responsible individuals.
Yes,
Whatever you choose, you still need to be responsible. I would
absolutely.
expect you, because you've chosen not to get vaccinated at this time, I would expect that you would be taking the extra precautions to make sure that you're not either a carrier, and if you are, that you're protecting the individuals that you may come in contact with.
Right. I agree.
I truly
150%. Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
I agree. I think we need to take the necessary precautions because we don't know what the effects of this vaccination could have on the body, could have on our mentality, could, you know, what repercussions are down the road. I know that in the past, most people, and we're never going to satisfy everyone. There's going to be those naysayers that they want, you know, they want something fast. And now that we deliver it, there's still another naysayer saying, well, we don't know what's going on. I think we really need to take the necessary precautions, and it's a personal choice, and support that choice.
Right.
And then it goes around in a circle, because what happens when the kids get it at school and passes it? I don't know. I wish it's a little frustrating. I wish we had some concrete, like, devisement of a plan here where we can keep everyone safe. But at this point, it's not, you know, and shit, it sucks. It sucks because yes, we've lost people to COVID that we care about, you know, and damn, that just sucks. Loss sucks. So I don't know.
What is the common thread here that I hope our listeners have heard? We don't have the answers.
No, we don't.
I hope you didn't expect to come to us for answers.
We're not opening the jar or the bottle, the magic potion to fix it all. We don't have that.
No.
However, we do agree that responsibility is upon all of us. Be smart, be safe, be well, take care of your children. And we would love to have your comments posted below, because this is a great discussion and it could actually open the eyes and ears of others to maybe make a different choice, or maybe see that, hey, maybe I should be a little more responsible when I'm around these individuals, or care for other people in a different way. We'd love to hear your feedback. Please share. Thank you so very much for coming this week. See you later.
Bye, everybody. Okay, you go first.
I love it. I think it's great.
By the way, can you hear the feedback behind me?
Yeah. Is Joe yelling at somebody?
Edit this. Recording. They went, oh.